So yeah, if they want to pick up there, they can twist that narrative. Yeah, happened a couple of times. Maybe I was sober driving some mates at some time. They said, let's go pick up this person, and then they weren't home or something, and then some narrative was, yeah, I don't know. But then maybe another time they were, and I picked them up. They'll pick up anything to try and spin some narrative. Anyway, it's all good. I went to the shooting hoops, and there's another reason how I know it's being gang stalked, because this the same guy who said, if you act like this around here, I'll punch you in your face, which was like some guy out the window, but didn't feel like he was like yelling or anything. But I don't know, because with manifestation, sometimes this thing comes up, as in like the more defense mechanism things. You know, the defense mechanisms that have served you very well and actually took care of you, and things that you've inherited from your ancestors that took care of your ancestors. Because you're stepping into a new role. This whole narrative of you're the greatest of your whole entire bloodline. Well, actually, on my mum's side of the family, there's Campbells, and there was like Campbell kings and stuff like that, like Scotland. We had our tribes and clans and all that, you know, same thing, just for some reason they used it for different ethnic groups. They say this ethnic group's got all these tribes, this other ethnic group's got all these clans, but it's the same thing. So, yeah. So you go back to my great grandparents. It's the MacLeods, the Campbells, and McDonalds. There's a lot of great warriors there. You know, you know. There's been a number of Campbell and McDonald. You know, over in Scotland, they have all these prominent names for each country, and in Scotland, the Campbells and the McDonalds are very, you know, they've always been at the top or thereabouts. Um, Te Arawa is a pretty, you know, Ngāti Kahungunu's got the most amount of land. Then you got other things like other iwis, and then you got um, Ngāpuhi were the first ones to get their hands on guns, so they were the best at warfare because of the guns. And Te Arawa was, they were the best at, for me, they're the best at commercializing. The Bay of Plenty has got the most tourist focused city in there. It's called Rotorua. Ngāti Tuwharetoa was one of the 8 heartbeats of Te Arawa, because we used to be 8 separate iwis. Now we're like one. They call it Confederation of Iwis, but then it used to just be called one iwi, and they were called like um oh, sorry, got it wrong. Used to be one iwi, and then there's the Hapus, and then now it's the sub tribes, so sub clans, and then you got all the you know, you got the big one that they'll stem from. Now it's a confederation of 8 different iwis, because that's how it grows and grows. You know, that's how things grow. Usually it will just be 8 different iwis, but their teamwork makes the dream work, and they got a confederation of 8 different iwis that have stemmed from one iwi, which was Te Arawa. You know, and then you got the Mohi's very prominent name. You know, you're the greatest of all your bloodline, whatever benefits your mental health, but at the same time, they say because of everything you've been through, and I go, yeah, you may have had it hard, like, okay, you know, different generations have dealt with different things, okay? So there was a lot less laws against bullying and against domestic violence and stuff when the baby boomers were growing up. But when I'm not saying like I'm not saying that their parents all did that, but there was just a lot less constant. It was just like people would frown and say like, "Why did you do that for?" But there wasn't actually any written law against it. Now there is. Well, came to play when I was 24. So you got boomers, you got Gen X, and then you got the millennials, right? And then you got Gen Z, which is like those because the oldest millennial is 44 and the youngest millennial is 30 or 29, and then there's the Gen Z is the oldest. Gen Z is 29, 28, and then the youngest is like 14, and then you got the Gen Alpha. Yeah, we insert like economically wise, job wise, all this. We've had it harder than previous ones, but then they had to deal with what they had to deal with growing up. But comparison to like our whole bloodline, man, like I know about the wars and the hard times, the Scottish and the Irish, and even my English ancestors. I got no beef. Um, yeah, and even my Maori ancestors, and I'm only going back. That's only going back to my great my great grandparents. Right, let's go back further. You're going to get to the point where actually everyone in the whole entire world is all interconnected. If you go back long enough, you'll see that the Maoris have the ancestral traits come from Asia, Polynesia, and the South Americas, like the Latinas. I never was into Grand Theft Auto or anything like that, but because for me it was just like a bunch of I can walk around and talk to people and do all this, but then you have all this other things like all the crime they get up to. So yeah, okay, obviously I'm not do that. But it's definitely not something you want to promote because I used to think, well, you know what, half of it is human instinct with regards to walking around having conversations, socializing, all this type of stuff, but then it's promoting using that for the negative, But, they had, I never bought any of them, but I had some cousins that had like 2 or 3 of the different Grand Theft Autos, and they were like, yeah. And I used to say, how come these Latinos look like Maoris? Then you do enough study, you found out that our DNA strands come from Southeast Asia, Polynesia, and the Latinos. But the thing is this. Get on track, Daniel. People will laugh at you for the breakthrough. I know that I'm going to win. People have said to me, oh yeah, with that guy, a car, since I said that to him, a car came past and there was like these girls and they were like revving it up in this flash car, and that never happens here. There's 2 people at the gym that were mocking me. That often happens, but it's like within a day or 2 after they're showcasing something that they have that I'm pursuing or something like supposed to stop me or something. It's an encouragement, because if you get to the point where you don't, you've worked through all your trauma and you don't have an issue with those people, what you see and what they're laughing at is coming your way. So I know I'm going to get a woman, my type of woman. I know I'm going to get a 6-figure vacancy. People laugh at you before the breakthrough. I've had this happen in my life before. And I had questions, well, why did I have to go through all this trauma from the same type of people, or maybe even the same people, and then have to work through it and get all these breakthroughs years later? But you know what? It is what it is. And who knows if their blessings last or not? They might not. I know some that's lost them, but some I don't know. People laugh before